I've got Simon sitting there in the green room over here. I think he's up there. Let me give you a little bit more detail about what Simon does here. So, as I mentioned, he's an expert in Java, JavaScript, Python, Selenium, and Playwright. He's the author of the pytest-playwright-visual package. I'm going to take a guess. That might be a Node package, but I'll have to ask Simon and see if that is. If I'm not, sounds familiar.
It's Python package.
It's Python. It's okay. I'm thinking right. I'm thinking JavaScript. I'm too focused in my own day job right now. So, cool. Thank you. It's a Python package. You're also a lecturer on Udemy. You've got a presentation out there, Playwright with Python for web automation testing and visual. That is a 6-hour course, and it's. I actually had pulled it up on my phone over here just to take a peek at it. Looks really great, and I think you said you're using PyCharm as your IDE. I think that's from JetBrains. Am I wrong on that?
That's right. Yep.
It is. I love JetBrains. I love their IDEs. I love IntelliJ when I'm working with Java. I love WebStorm when I'm working with JavaScript. So I love all that stuff. And you created 10,000 animated NFTs with Python. Is this correct? Did I read that correctly?
That is right. Yep.
All right, cool. All right. I guess I have to go pick up a couple of NFTs myself over here. Well, with that given out there, Simon, welcome aboard, and I'm going to throw it over to you, and let's learn a little bit more about your presentation on automating testing with Playwright and Python.
Awesome. Thank you, Paul. First off, thank you for inviting. It's a big honor to be in the same role with such speakers as Paul and Marco. I heard about Paul before, and I wish I knew about Marco earlier as well. I would pick up some tricks that he broadcasts on his YouTube channel. So before we begin, first off, I want to say that wherever you're watching this presentation from, whichever part of the world, I hope you're in a safe place. You have a safe sky over your head, and you're having a splendid day. That's very important. So a little bit about myself. My name is Symon Storozhenko, if you wonder how to pronounce my last name. And I've been working as a QA automation specialist for about 8 years now. And I worked in different domains, telecom, payment industry, insurance. Currently, I work at IsDeal Secured, a company that deals with commercial real estate, anything from warehouses to skyscrapers. The topic of my speech today, let me just share my screen real quick, will be Playwright automation using Python. Okay, I need to allow some permissions here on my computer. Give me a second. All right. I'm going to share my screen. Something tells me I need to restart my Chrome. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can fix it. I hope I can rejoin. Give me a second. I apologize about this. I didn't know this is going to happen. Give me a second, Paul.
Not a problem.
Yeah.
I'll keep everybody entertained here while we deal with some technical issues. That's the interesting thing about these sessions here. We have stuff like that pop up all the time. I will let you know one of the last sessions that I worked on at the very moment that I was about to go live. That's when Windows decided it needed to do all the updates for me. The lucky thing was that the next speaker that I had, he had gotten into like a minor car accident and he was running 15 minutes late. So the whole thing was just being delayed one after another. So it actually kind of turned out okay. So it's an interesting thing we get into these things. Simon is back over here. Let's see. Hopefully we get some. You got your approvals going on that allow things to share?
Thank you, Paul, for backing me up.
Sure, not a problem.
Okay, I hope you can see my screen now.
I'm going to turn off my camera. And as far as from my side, I only see you. Please do make sure that the full screen mode.
Full screen mode. Okay.
Yeah, so that we don't see the tabs is what I'm being asked on the back side here.
That's what I did. Entire screen. Choose this. Yep, that's what I'm sharing. It's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, they're saying we're not seeing. Yeah. They're saying they mean in PowerPoint.
PowerPoint. Okay. The thing is, I need to present my PyCharm because I'll be doing some hands-on stuff.
Okay.
Because what could go wrong, right?
That's what our world is all about.
Yeah.
That's our ROI when we find things like that.
I'll try it from Safari.
Okay.
Who knows? Let's try that.
Sounds good.
Because it seems like Chrome is the most reliable, maybe not always. Okay, let me join there.
See how that goes.
Okay.
So I've always been interested in automation with Python. I'm looking forward to this. I have worked in a lot of different languages. And one of the cool things about automation is that once you learn one particular language, as I said, I worked in Visual Basic, VB Script Basic. I was able to take all the ideas and concepts that I learned in Basic for about 15 years and brought that into my Java framework, and then brought that into, from there, brought that into JavaScript, which is works out really really cool. Says you're sharing. Let me check with the everybody on the screen. Can anyone see your the screen? Can we get a confirmation? Hey, I see it. Okay, Simon, you are sharing. We're all good. I'll let you go.
Awesome. Thank you, Paul, for entertaining.
My pleasure.
Okay, so there is so much feedback I'm getting. Hold on. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, boy.
And we had the screen there for just for a moment.
So what happened? I was getting a lot of feedback. I'm still getting, and I closed my Chrome. It seemed like Chrome was sharing and not Safari. Okay. I've used Restream actually quite successfully with Chrome. I'm not sure why we're having this right now.
Are you talking about the visual feedback? You were getting like the window and a window and a window and a window. Is that what you're talking about?
No, the audio feedback I'm talking about.
Okay. There is also, if you go under settings, there is two options. You can go to audio, and there's echo cancellation and noise suppression that maybe turned off. That's what I was kind of getting. I also went to headsets that I was having an echo issue with my previous guest. But I can see you have the earbuds on.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, I think if you just hit F5, you had PowerPoint up there. So if you bring up PowerPoint, hit F5, it should go to a full screen, give you an option, and then you should be good to go. There you go. And yeah, I can see that. And I would say maybe minimize the browser. And okay, he's going to try and come back in here.
Great.
Simon's back. So there was a quick question. Has anyone found value in creating an online portfolio for their testing? A lot of testing I do can't be publicly shared. Quick answer, I actually have a whole bunch of stuff on my YouTube channel. Absolutely, Jen. Do that. Just, do the things that you've learned in test automation and do it with whatever public websites out there. Okay, Simon, I think we're ready to go. I'll let you run there.
Okay, yeah, but apologize for all of this. Hey, anyway, we started 4 minutes earlier than my scheduled speech, so it's a same-day service, right? Okay, so Playwright automation with Python. So you probably heard this Playwright tool, what is it about, maybe in the context, how it's compared to Selenium, how it's compared against Cypress, what's the benefits, what the pros and cons compared to the other two tools. We're going to discuss all of that. First off, let's start with a little bit of history. So there was an internal need inside Google to create their own tool for headless browser automation for their testing purposes, and they created this tool called Puppeteer. Then team that created Puppeteer, or the part of the team, they went to Microsoft and they renamed the tool as Playwright. And this is what we know it as it is today. What is Playwright? What are the main features? First and foremost, just like Cypress and Selenium, and of course other tools that are open source, this tool is free. That means you don't have to pay for it. You just download packages and run your testing. The execution of tests is supported on multiple operation systems like Linux, Windows, and macOS. A very peculiar, interesting support for browsers from Playwright is that it uses the engines that support Chrome, Safari, and Firefox. And they are called Chromium WebKit and Firefox Nightly, respectively. So what it means is that Playwright has these browsers that are released ahead of the production browsers that allows you potentially see any issues happening. Let's say Chrome team introduce some new feature and it's going to potentially break your website or your company's website. That means you have upper hand in seeing this issue before your users see that issue. I think this is very, very important. Just like Selenium, Playwright tries to create many language bindings, and some of these are Node.js, JavaScript, Python, C#, and Java. It's still a little behind Selenium. I think there are like 7 language bindings. So in addition to these, there is like Perl, PHP, and something else. I don't remember. You can test mobile web emulation on the browsers. So it's very important. It's not the mobile apps, it's the web that you use on your cell phones. Then Playwright comes prepackaged with the auto-wait functionality. That means if you have a button that loads for more than like 2 seconds, you don't have to create what you would do in Selenium, like implicit, explicit wait. It comes already with batteries, so to speak. The timeout is 5 seconds by default, but you can increase the timeout in line to whichever milliseconds you want. Also, you can test multiple tabs. You can test multiple users. Playwright uses this concept of context. So you would have one context for one user with all the session data, with all the cookies, and then you would have another storage data for another user. And you would run potentially those tests parallel without them intermingling and affecting each other. I think this is a pretty cool feature. Okay, so what is going to be in this presentation? Of course, overall a discussion of the tool, then running tests with PyTest. We're going to dive into PyTest right away. PyTest is the test framework for Python. I think it's the best framework, given my very subjective, biased opinion. It's best of all the languages. I worked with Jest, I worked with JUnit and TestNG. These are the test frameworks for JavaScript and Java, and they have this concept called before all, before each, after all, after each. So PyTest has what you call fixture that has all these, the power of all these before all, before, after all methods combined in just one function. I think this is really cool. It's very laconic and really straightforward. Then we're going to go to reporting, parallel execution, and running some of the CLI commands in the terminal. And I'm going to ask a question. Have you seen a cake with 2 cherries? Probably not, or a cupcake. So because this is what we're going to have today. So we're going to have 2 extra topics that I particularly like. One is visual testing, and another one is automating Chrome extensions. I'll be using MetaMask and OpenSea example. So if you are into NFTs, blockchain, or artsy by nature, you will find it useful, I think. Okay. Now let me switch my sharing to PyCharm. Okay, the only thing I need to find it. Okay, let me minimize that. And I have PyCharm here. Okay, great. All right, so where do we start? Since this is open source package, we're going to install it using pip. We're going to go to terminal and type pip install playwright. I'm going to have a longer installation just because I have it installed already. After that, you would need to install all the browsers, and for this you use command playwright install. Okay. And let's install PyTest right away. So in PyCharm, you can either install it from terminals or go to Preferences, Projects, Python Interpreter, and then hit this plus icon, and you can just type PyTest, highlight it, and install it from here. Okay, so do it for PyTest and then PyTest playwright. We're going to come back for other packages later. Okay, that's it. I have one test file prepared already. So the thing is, when you run PyTest, all your test files should start with test. I usually put it as test underscore. Then all the test methods also start with test underscore. Okay, I have these functions here, and that means that Python is going to recognize and pick up those tests. My bad, I need to run pytest command. All right, as you can see, it picked 11 items, and some of them are going to run in headed mode, but we're going to look at it a little later. So let's discuss what is happening here. Oh, you know what? Better so. Let's look at how we can generate code on the fly. This is the best, the fastest, and sure way to get familiarized with Playwright tool. In your terminal, type playwright codegen, and let's type google.com. Oops, that's not where I wanted to go. It's interesting. Okay, let's go to Google. All the interesting stuff happening today. All right. Anyway, we can review this website. I mean, it's okay. So here we have Playwright Inspector, and it's going to generate tests for the language of your choice. It has Python, it has JavaScript, and recently, actually probably a week ago, Playwright team introduced pytest test generation, which is going to go right here. Okay, we're going to make some clicks. Maybe we can go somewhere else, just like that. That would be enough. Let's look at what is happening here. I don't think it's recording any clicks. Okay. All right. So what Playwright did, it used the go-to method to go to the URL of your choosing. Then it's going to use this page locator strategy to find your selectors on the page. In this particular case, what we did is we looked for the test that has this verbiage, Google wins elections prediction, and we click on this. Okay, so this brings us to our next topic, which is locators. And always when you looking at your new tool, check documentation, because it has some useful information that you can really glean knowledge from. So let's go to our locators, and there will be some explanation why locators are important, because it has auto waiting and auto retry ability. So if you click on the button and it's not reacting, it's going to continue clicking for default of 5 seconds, which the timeout that you can increase eventually. Okay. Then inside the locator, we're using the selection strategy, which you could find more in the selectors page. The one that we just looked at called text selector, but there are also many other selectors like CSS. We have some data test ID tags, a wide range of ways to find your elements on the page. I think this is really cool.
Hey, Simon, I hate to interrupt you, but I think you might be looking at a page. We don't see anything really changing up on your screen.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because it can only transmit one window at a time. Okay, I apologize for that. I thought I was sharing the entire screen. Let me quickly switch that and show you the web page, which is right here. I just need to remember, continue switching the windows that I'm sharing. Okay, so the previous one I was talking about is locators. It's right here, right? And this is the playwright.dev website that I have. I'm going to post it in the comments, in the links, so that you can look at this. And the locators inside using selection strategy that you can find more in the selectors menu of the Playwright for Python. Okay, the one we used the text selector, but there are many others like CSS, data test ID, and so on. It's pretty robust in that regard. I like it. Okay, let me switch back to PyCharm. All right. Okay, I think we're done here. I'm going to cancel out by hitting Control-C. Okay, I hope you see. Let me see what I'm sharing there. Yes, I'm sharing PyCharm. Okay, good. All right, so we run a couple tests, but what if I want to run only one test? This is where the CLI commands come in handy. So you can just type -k, and after that, you can either specify the file name, the file pattern, the test name, anything you'd like is going to pick up. So I'm going to type test intro, pytest underscore intro.py. Okay, and it's going to pick up only 2 tests since I have only 2 tests in this file. Okay, we run one, and we're going to run second. Probably it's going to fail. No, it did not. Okay, so by default, Playwright runs the test in the headless mode. To change that, you can add another argument into your CLI called headed. And that will bring up your browser, which is Chromium by default. Talking about browsers, we can change the browsers that you want to use. If you want to use Safari, type --browser and type WebKit. If you want to use several browsers at the same time, you have to do this thing for each of the browsers. Browser, let's say Firefox. Okay. Let's type here something. Browser. Okay, great. It's 4 tests now because it's 2 browsers by 2 tests. This blue icon is actually Firefox Nightly, one version ahead of the production, which is really, really neat. Okay, great. We discussed that. Let me look at my notes. If you want to present your automation to your team and you feel like your tests are running just way too fast, there is a way to slow it down. Type --slow more, and then in the milliseconds, specify how much you want it to wait. So I'm going to use the 1/5 of a second, 200 milliseconds. You can use 1000, which is 1 second. It's up to you. Sometimes I even use it, I'll be honest with you, when I need to test something and the network is slow, or it just the framework itself is so fast that I need to slow it down sometimes. Like, whoa, Playwright, slow down, right? So that's what I need to do. And I wonder, Paul, because I run tests in headed mode, did you see any browsers come up that you could watch? Or did you just see the PyCharm window? Because that'd be a shame, because I'm showing you all the browsers, and I'm not sure if you can see that. Okay, let me run it, and I'll watch myself on YouTube. Nope, you don't see that. I really apologize. I don't know why we are not able to share the entire screen, because this is actually where the stuff was happening. That's okay. I think we'll we'll find it. We'll make it work. All right. Let's move on to fixtures. So fixture, as I told you already, is a very powerful tool that PyTest has up its sleeve, right? Or up my collar in my case. Let me open this file called conf-test. So when you use PyTest framework, you always put your fixtures in the conf-test.py file. That way you don't have to import them in your test files. It's going to be recognized by default. If you decide to use a different name, then it's a different story. You have to import it in your test files, unfortunately. I just use default standard process here, which, I don't have to worry about importing this module, all that stuff. So let's look at that. We're going to denote PyTest fixture with @pytest.fixture. And depending on the scope, this is going to be your before all or before each method. So if we see scope of session, that means the session of your complete test run, right? That means it's before all. We want to make sure that Symon logs in to this website before all the tests, keep this storage active, and then run all the tests using this context without the need to log in to my website every time I run a new test, right? Which saves us a lot of time. Okay, so these are all the steps for me to log into my website. I have one website for practicing, and after it's done, we're going to yield the context. So yield is very important here because we can return something, run the program, and don't finish the execution of this function. We can still run something after this and perform our tear down method, which would be before, after all or after each, right? PyTest fixtures allow you to use some other fixtures. It's some kind of inheritance, so to speak. If you look at this, we have context creation fixture, and the next fixture that I'm going to use will not have a scope of session. If I don't pass anything here, it's going to have a scope of a single test. Okay, for this fixture, I'm going to use the fixture that's going to yield a context. I'm going to create a page based on that context, because the context is already having my logged in information. Go to website, yield the page, which is kind of like dispensing the page, and run all the tests. And after test is done, I'm going to close that page, because if I don't close, I'll have thousands of tabs open in my browser. Okay. One of the examples of how to use it, let me open this file. So in the pytest test, you pass in this argument, which is login setup. This is the name of the fixture that we use. And we're going to create a page, assign it to the value of this context of this fixture, because it returns us a page, right? And I'm going to use that page to perform operations on my site. I'm going to run it, and hopefully it will pass. Let's do that. What I need to do is change the pattern for the test name, just like that. All right, test passed. I have another example where I can run tests with two separate users. I have login setup user 2. This is something we didn't look at. I have other fixtures that use different email. So here I have Symon, and in the first case, I have Symon.Storozhenko, two different users. And based on those contexts, I create extra fixtures, which is login setup user 2. So I have two files, one that uses this fixture and one that uses the fixture for the second user. Okay. I am going to change, let me remove all that stuff we don't need. I'm going to run both files. It's test home layout. It's the home page layout. Okay, We have 4 tests selected, and they're going to use different fixtures and different page contexts. Which actually brings us to our next topic. Since we have more and more tests, and you will have more tests when you develop your framework, how to run them in parallel. So for this, we are going to use pytest fixture, not the fixture, but the package called xdist. Pytest xdist will allow you to run your tests in parallel. I have it already installed. In order to invoke this functionality, type dash, just one dash, n, and then the number of threads you want it to run. I'm going to type 2, and as you can see, it's showing you that there are 4 tests, but 2 workers, worker number GW0 and GW1. Okay, we have 2 failures, which is awesome. Yeah, it's strange to hear, but I want to see some failures in our reports that we're going to use. I think I need to switch to my browser to show you that package. Okay, where do I go? All right. Just want to make sure you see everything on my browser and not just one tab. Let me validate that. Okay, awesome. So there is a package called pytest-report-html1, which is created by Christian Sandberg. Kudos to you. Make sure when you use some of the open source packages, start the project. It's a silent thank you or awesome job in letting the author of open source project know that you're actually an actual human liking the product. It's, you know, I cannot say it's nothing, but it incentivizes a person to create a better product, I think. So make sure you install this package. And don't worry, I have a list of all the packages in my presentation list. Let me switch back. How to do the juggling here back and forth. Hold on a second. I'm switching to my PyCharm. All right. Make sure you install that. All right, I have it installed. You can do either pip install or do it this way if you're using PyCharm. Great. So looking at that page, I'm not going to show you, but when you're going to use that report, make sure you look at documentation on the GitHub. I'm just going to copy that command that we're going to use right here. Okay. So we're going to run it in 2 parallel threads, and we're going to use this template, which is called HTML1 index.html. Okay, let's run it. Once it finishes, we'll see a new file, which will be called report.html, I think. Okay, awesome. Here it is. I'm going to open it in, of course, Safari. Let me switch back to Safari, guys. Kind of fun doing all that. I like it. Okay. And I'm going to show you test report. All right, look at this beauty. Isn't it perfect? It shows you all, even this nice diagram that you can see that, okay, quarter of our test is failing. And you can also see what exactly failed in your PyTest test, right? So here we go. This exact line is saying that assertion failed. It's not actually seeing this text verbiage on the page, which is cool. It's super awesome. All right. Good job to whoever created this package. All right. So we slowly move into the cherry of the first cherry of our presentation, which is visual testing. This is the package that I actually compiled myself, but I cannot take all the credit. This package would not be possible if not for pixel match-py and then pytest-playwright snapshot, which actually I used to fork it from. And this package didn't have the visual representation of your differences, and this is what I added. And I also added a lot of stuff which would potentially break the test for many users. So I decided not to do the PR of this project, but create a separate one. I think that way is better because I didn't want to step on anyone's toes here. Make sure you start this as well. Okay. All right. We're going to move back to PyCharm. Let me switch. Okay. And I have a folder called visual tests, and I have some tests already prepared. So the package uses assert snapshot fixture. And please keep in mind, you don't have to even import anywhere in your files. You don't have to edit in your conftest.py file. This is how awesome it is. Once you install it, it already recognizes this fixture right away. Pretty cool. And all you have to do is pass in page.screenshot inside that function. You know what? I'm going to move visual testing. Okay. Let me cd to visual tests. All right, never mind. So I'm going to run these tests that are called visual. Actually, passing this test name. And I'm going to run it. Something went wrong. Oh, I didn't put the -k parameter. You see, I'm forgetting myself what I'm teaching here. All right. And the first time you run your visual test, it's going to fail. And I did it on purpose because what if you're creating like 20 or even more snapshots? You cannot just assume that those are correct snapshots that you just taken. What if it's just a white screen? You have to manually go in and review those images. And then the next time you run, it's going to do the actual comparison from your reference snapshots. So let's go here. It should create a snapshot folder. Here we go. Inside that folder, we'll have another folder that bears a name of the test file. Inside that folder, we have a folder that has the name of a test. And inside that, we have the actual PNG file with the browser name inside and the operating system. So we see Chromium and Darwin. Darwin is macOS. If we want to add more browsers, we know how to do that. We're going to run Firefox. And we're going to get one extra screenshot right here. Here we go. Let's look at this. So these are screenshots that I just took from my practice website. Let's make it fail and see what happens. So I'm going to go to the home page. Let's run it. So now what it does is comparing two images pixel by pixel, and if it has probably more than like 5-10 pixels, you can actually put it in your settings, how many pixels you would allow, or what's the threshold of the differences you would allow. And then it's going to fail. But then it would still have to run through these two images to generate the difference image so that you have some nice visual representation. Okay, you have error, snapshots do not match, and we'll have one extra folder here. Let's wait a little bit. Okay, snapshot test failures. And here we go. We have actual, which we just grabbed. We have the expected screenshot, which we were expecting, and the difference, right? As you can see, it's a lot. In case you have some dynamic elements on your page, such as date or maybe username, if you're using different usernames, your tests are going to fail because those pixels are going to be different, right? Playwright has an option to go around that, which is called masking. Let's look at that. Okay. So inside the page screenshot method, you pass in mask parameter type equals, and then it's very important, it uses the list structure, right? So inside this, we put homepage cart icon. And what we're going to do is mask our cart icon because some users might have 2 items in the cart, some users might have, I don't know how many items, 0, right? We don't want that to spoil our visual test. Let's wait for that snapshot. I think this is the one with masking. Yep. Here we go. We masked this shopping icon. And as you guessed, since it's a list structure of the mask option, we can pass in something else. Homepage dot, and by the way, I'm using this POM structure that I didn't show you. I don't know how we're on time. I might show you a little bit how I structured it. I just followed the guidelines from the Playwright website. Pretty straightforward. We'll look at that. So I'm going to mask shop women menu option as well. So we're going to have 2 different pink blocks. First off, don't forget, when you run it second time, it's going to compare these two. So you either have to delete the screenshot or run the update screenshot argument in your CLI command. Screenshots. Nope. Okay. Update snapshots, right? Snapshot. Okay, let's take a look at that. You can reload, right-click and reload from disk. Okay, yeah. Here we go. We have cart icon masked, and we have this menu option masked as well, which is really cool. You might have your advertisement banners, which are constantly changing, something is blaring there, right? You want to block those if you're running your visual tests. So the application for visual test, I actually use it for smoke testing. Some of the main pages and even elements, you can even get a screenshot of a particular element, I run it as part of the visual because I want to make sure that if I go on this website, everything seems the way it should be, right? Pretty straightforward. I don't want to go and check if button is enabled or this text is present. What if this text is on top of each other, right? And this might happen. The visual test is going to provide you the best kick for your buck, for your time, for anything technically, right? I just love it. Okay, and I promise you to show my POM structure. Let's look at the homepage elements. So you create a class, and then you create a init method that is needed because you're going to create instances of the class. And then inside, everything prefixed with self dot, page goes by default, and then all your elements on the page. I called it celebrating beauty header, which has this selector, page.locator, and specific text, right? I have this locator with CSS selector, actually. Or is it a class? I don't remember. That something, I think it's a class. This one is a tag. How many interesting things here? Yeah. Okay. All right. So the next cherry is extension testing. Cool. So for those who don't know, just in case, I'm going to explain what it is about. So the OpenSea is the largest marketplace for NFTs based on the Ethereum type blockchains. I think they're going to introduce Solana blockchain in near future as well. And MetaMask is your wallet. It's one of the most popular wallets that is used. And the way you use it is you download the extension for Chrome or Firefox. So when you perform any type of operation, let me go and try to do something. I think I need to log in. Okay, let me log in. All right. So it's going to show all your funds, all your NFTs that you have. And for example, I want to cancel this listing, right? I have this NFT and hey, I want to cancel it. So in the blockchain world, you have to approve every transaction, sign it, and so to speak. And to automate the extension pop-ups is very, very hard. And we're going to look at how Playwright team went around that. And I just realized I probably didn't share my screen. Hold on, give me a second. I forgot to switch to Chrome. Let me switch real quick. Okay, so this is what I was talking about. OpenSea. If you have your items that you created or belong to you, you want to perform some kind of operation on them. In this case, this is the NFT that I created, and I want to cancel listing, right? I don't want to sell it anymore. Or the opposite, I want to sell it. So the thing is with OpenSea is that you cannot just set same price for your 10,000 NFTs. If you decided to create like I did, and then there was a question, oh my God, how do I automate, putting price on all of those? Because you have to do it one by one. It's there's no way you're going to do it manually. So for this, you can use Playwright, and they're going to use a workaround where you would sign messages not in the form of pop-ups like shown here, because I don't know any tools that would easily automate extension pop-ups. It's pretty hard. So let's switch back to PyCharm. Let me just change my window I'm sharing. Okay. I'm back to PyCharm, I hope. Great. So I have this separate folder, extension testing. So one thing you need to keep in mind that you want your actual extension files or artifacts be present in the folder where you're testing it, right? So you can go on the extension creator website and download zip that they provide. Most of them should be able to allow this. MetaMask is on GitHub, so I downloaded the extension as a zip file, and then make sure you unpack it and place it where you're going to test it. I have this file called run extension. So the first thing you want to do is specify a path to your extension. Dot slash is that same directory where your file located in. And then we are going to create a test. In this particular case, Playwright suggests using launch persistent context method, where along with the other cool attributes, you're using this one called disable extensions, except the one that you specified in your path, which is MetaMask in our example. Then what Playwright does, it creates a page based on that context, and it's going to wait for that page to load. So this first page that I'm creating is actually a MetaMask window. It's going to open as a separate window in the tab. So it's not going to be a pop-up, which is very important. If we have MetaMask opened as a regular window, we can automate it as a regular page, like anything. I'm going to have all this code in the repository. I'm going to call it Zapple Meetup Playwright. I will leave all the links so you can download this code and you can look at this, right? So don't worry if you didn't look at everything that I'm showing right now. It's all going to be available, okay? So here I'm going to log into my MetaMask account and proceed with my testing. Very important to note, if you run it for the first time, you need to import your secret key, which is usually a 12-word secret key that you need to insert in the different boxes. You probably know what I mean if you dealt with MetaMask before. But this has to be done only once. So Chromium and MetaMask will cache your information, and then you don't have to do it for quite some time, right? So then after that, I'm creating page number 2. And the page number 2 is what I'll be using to actual website of my token. And after I go there, I make sure that I load the same storage session along with MetaMask account, and make sure that I don't see the buy now button. And if I don't see it and I see the cancel listing, that means this item belongs to me, right? So in this case, I'm canceling items, but in yours might be putting them up on sale. So it will be kind of like reversed, right? So you just have to do all the selling automation steps. And guess what? I captured the video of that just in case something goes wrong. Can you imagine? And I'm going to run it. Let me just switch to that, because there is no reason for me to run it now if you cannot see what is happening. This is a bummer. Okay, I have that. Let me switch my QuickTime. I'm just waiting it to appear. Okay, great. I have it. So let's run that and see what is happening. It's going to open a Chromium, then it opens a MetaMask. It was quite fast, probably. So first it was buy now option because MetaMask still didn't load my profile information. So I'm going to reload the page, and I have cancel listing. Okay, I have cancel listing, and I also have this pop-up, which is impossible to automate as of now. So what Playwright is going to do, it's going to switch back to MetaMask tab. Even on the background, you won't see what is happening there, but there is a button that is going to be same button that's on the extension pop-up, and it's going to approve that button. Okay, and since you see sell button, that means I canceled my listing and everything went successful. This is my MetaMask. And you can see it, I canceled the listing 11 seconds ago. All right, great. I think that will conclude our session. I can say that please contact with me on YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, and let me just share my presentation file. Okay, I have the list of packages here, and yeah, contact with me on YouTube. I don't have many videos just yet, but I am planning to create a wide range of videos on other tips and tricks on automation testing. Also, somewhere in the fall time, I think I will be making a video of how to generate 10,000 unique NFTs and all automated. So you probably heard of like Bored Ape Yacht Club, of those JPEG files, which is really cool. But I think it's even also awesome to have 10,000 unique automated NFTs to have and to know how to generate those using, guess what, Python. So yeah, this is going to be quite a challenge. It's going to be an interesting one. And thank you for having me. I guess we're going to wait for Paul to come back.
Yeah, I'm back over here. Thank you very much, Simon. I think we might have maybe a minute or two to address probably one question. So I'm going to take a look. We had Alexei Zurov was asking, how are you overcoming threading problems for XDist? For example, two different tests in different threads are trying to change one account. Is there anything you can think about, any answer you might be able to give Alexei on that?
Yeah. So there are actually two different parallel packages for PyTest. I know one is XDist that I'm using. The other one is PyTest Parallel, right? And I use the XDist because it probably offers you better encapsulation of your tests so that they don't overrun into each other. It's a tricky question. So the way I would approach that, in the way I'm approaching it currently, is to make sure that all the tests that I run in two different threads using different contexts, right? So if I'm using this context for user one, I can only touch these certain accounts. I'm not going to touch account that from 1 to 5, and the user two is not going to touch accounts from 5 to 10, for example.
Okay.
So that way they might not run into these kind of problems.
Okay.
But yeah,
Sounds
look
good.
into, I think it's called PyTest Parallel, something to look at.
Okay.
This is the package.
Great.
Also.
Great. I wish we had time to answer to do a lot more questions. This is some great stuff. I'm going to start looking into NFTs myself. This has been a fantastic demo. And by the way, there was a question: is the session being recorded? Yes, it will. I'm told I think it's going to be available on the 9th. So do keep an ear out for that. Symon, I really appreciate you coming down here and doing a live demo. I love a live demo, so that's cheers to you, man. It's something I love to do. And I'm just going to kind of wrap it up over here. Thank you, everybody who's joined today. I hope you had got some entertainment, learned a lot of cool stuff, new things. And we're going to wrap up this meeting here. And we'll catch you. I guess there's another one coming up in a month or so. So take care. Have yourself a great day. Thank you. Bye-bye.